everyone! So in the previous few episodes we talked about giving commands, giving negative commands, when we want someone to not do something. At the end of the last episode I gave you guys an example with an ending that some of you may have not ever seen before and probably have been confused by it. So today I'm here to explain all of it to you because we'll be looking at the use of the verb 보다 in a slightly different way from its actual meaning. So the actual meaning of 보다 is to see, but in this case it actually means to try or to attempt or to test something, sort of. And before we go into any kind of examples, I just want to make it clear for you guys that in English we can use the word try in multiple different ways. Like we can try to do something when we're putting in a lot of effort to do it. Like, oh, I tried to eat rice for the first time yesterday after my stomach flu, you know? That is a kind of sentence that we wouldn't necessarily use 보다 in because the act of whatever you're doing in that sentence required effort, and that requires a bit of a different sentence structure. So that's something we'll look at maybe next episode, who knows? But the definition of try that we're looking at today is more of an attempt, more of kind of like, ooh, I'm trying it out, I'm testing it, I'm attempting to do something without really much consideration for any effort, if that made any sense. So when it comes to 보다, the way we add it to an existing sentence is we take the stem of the verb that we're talking about in the sentence, we add a or a to it depending on the type of verb it is, and then we literally just add 보다. And after that, all we gotta do is conjugate 보다 to past tense or future tense. And present tense, I've never really heard affirmative sentences being said in present tense. And by affirmative sentences, I mean like, oh, I ate, he did, we went, you know, these kind of factual sentences that you're just kind of describing something. I've never really heard anyone use a 보다 type of sentence in present tense because you don't really need to announce whatever you're trying out right now. However, you can use present tense of 보다 to give commands, which I will get to later on in the video. Alright, so let's go back at the eating rice example. 나는 밥을 먹어봤어요. I tried eating rice. And the way you would mean it is not like, oh, I tried really hard to eat rice. It was more like, I tried out rice yesterday, you know. Just something I don't normally do, said no one ever. How can you live without rice? I just don't get it. You can make the sentence a little bit more complicated and say something like 엄마가 요리한 음식을 먹어봤어요? Have you tried the food that mom made? This is the kind of sentence that I think English speakers would understand more because you're actually trying something out. It doesn't cost you any effort, right, to try out your mom's cooking. Yet you're doing it just because you want to test it, just want to try it. Alright, so we looked at the way to say that we tried something in the past, but a lot of the times we say that we want to try something in the future. So how do we do it? It's very simple. All we gotta do is once again take the stem of the verb that we're talking about, add a or a, and then conjugate 보다 in the future tense. So we'll end up with 볼 거예요. So we can say something like 비상줄구를 찾아볼 거예요. I'll try looking for an emergency exit. 비상줄구 is an emergency exit in Korean. Alright, so now that we've covered 보다 type of sentences in the past and the future, how do we use it in the present tense? Well, mostly we use it to give other people commands, which is something that by now you guys should be super proficient in. Giving someone a command does not require any special sentence structure, formation, whatnot. All you do is you take the stem of the verb that we're talking about, add a or a, and then 보다 in present tense conjugation, which is just 봐. Or 봐요. Or 보세요. Because level of politeness. So if I want to tell someone to check something or double check something, I would tell them 그것을 확인해 봐. And that's presuming that I am their superior and I am allowed and I can talk to them in an informal, very informal manner. If I need to make it a little bit more polite, and for example I'm talking to a stranger, I would say something like 문을 열어봐요. By adding 요 at the end, you're making it automatically more polite. It's not the most polite way you can address someone, but sometimes you don't need to when you're speaking to strangers or people you kinda know and you don't need to be super polite with them or you're the same age. Before I go into a very polite way of commanding someone using 보다, I think by now you guys would get a question of like, what is the difference then between just commanding someone to do something and commanding them using 보다? Technically, in terms of meaning, there is not much difference. Like I can tell you 그것을 확인해, or I can tell you 그것을 확인해봐. It's a slight tiny difference. One, I'm telling you, okay, go check it. Another one, I'll be like, come on, you know, give it a try to check it, you know, try to confirm it. I think at this point you don't need to concern yourself with the slight meaning difference, because if you do end up going to Korea, or if you are going to have a conversation with a native speaker, you will gradually learn in what situations to use one or the other. Alright, when it comes to the most polite way of commanding someone, all you gotta do is add 으세요 to 보다, making it 보세요. And yeah, then you can say things like 먼저 가보세요. Please go first. Please try going first. Some instances when you are being very polite and you're talking to, let's say, elders or your boss, you would need to substitute certain words for more polite versions of them. For example, the word for eating, 먹다. There's a more polite version of it, which is 드시다, and you would need to use that together with 보세요 to make a formal sentence complete. Because if you say something like 이것을 먹어보세요, it's gonna sound kind of weird. Like you're trying to be polite, but you're not fully very polite. So what you should say is 이것을 드셔보세요. And with 먹다, you'd be able to use something like 이거 먹어봐 or 이거 먹어봐요. Alright, so that is it for today. Make sure to head over to the blog post, where I will post more examples, more explanations in written form in case you are more of a visual learner rather than an auditory learner. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope this wasn't too difficult for you. Let me know if you have any questions or if I misspelled anything or made a mistake, because I do that all the time. God, I just cannot proofread my videos. I just don't see mistakes. Sometimes I think I'm dyslexic that way. Alright, I hope you all have a wonderful upcoming weekend. Hang on, we just got one more day to go and then weekend. Woohoo! Hang in there. I love you all. Bye. 안녕.